The following program is being presented to you by a community producer. The statements, views, and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of ALC-TV or the City of Avon Lake.
Welcome to Common Sense. Common Sense is a series of shows that feature interviews with interesting people so that we can learn in a clear, concise, and direct way who these folks are, what they do, and what makes sense to them and what doesn't. I'm Rudy Breglia, and today I'll be interviewing Avon Lake's Community Council's Citizen of the Year 2023, a community volunteer, a pro-life advocate, the wise and wonderful Judy Kaminski.
Thank you, Rudy.
Okay, welcome, Judy, to Common Sense.
It's a pleasure to be here, and quite an honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Citizen of the Year. Tell us, to get us started, Judy, tell us where you were born and where you've lived, that kind of background stuff.
Well, I was born at St. Joseph Hospital, which was located on West 21st Street and Broadway. It was in Lorraine.
Okay.
It's no longer there. It's been replaced by Mercy Hospital,
okay,
which is on Colby Road and Lake Road in Lorraine.
Okay.
My parents, my dad's family came from Bonanza, Arkansas.
Wow.
And my mother's family came from Carrara, Italy. And the two of them met at the Lorraine roller skating arena.
Okay.
And I have lived in the Lorraine County areas the majority of my life. I've lived in Sheffield, Sheffield Lake, Amherst, and Lorraine, and eventually Avon Lake.
What brought you to Avon Lake?
Well, I took a job at the B.F. Goodrich Chemical Company in the early 70s,
okay,
a clerical job. And there I met my husband, Ron, and we got married in 1988. And I worked for B.F. Goodrich for 31 years.
Wow.
It's amazing. I don't think people are able to do that these days.
Yeah.
That's
right.
changed.
Right.
I retired in 2017. And at the time I retired, it was no longer known as B.F. Goodrich. It had been purchased and it had become Lubrizol.
Okay.
So my husband had two sons, so I am the stepmother. Our youngest son lives in Tampa, Florida, and he has 4 children.
Wow.
Our oldest lives in Hudson, and he has 3 children. So I get to be a stepmom and a step-grandmother to their children, and they've been wonderful. They've really allowed me to share their life with them. I thought I would have children someday of my own. That never happened, so I get to participate in their lives.
Oh, that's
so it's
wonderful.
Been great. It's been great.
What prompted you to start your community activities?
Our good neighbor, John Shundell,
okay,
invited me to serve on the board of the Avon Lake Historical Preservation Commission.
Uh-huh.
And I agreed to do that. It was from 2012 to 2014. I served as secretary. And again, I thought it was a wonderful experience. Their mission was to identify historical sites here in Avon Lake and try to work with the owners to persuade them to agree to have their properties designated as historical sites. And, you know, that isn't always easy because there are certain requirements that have to be met to get your property designated. And once those requirements are met, then there's certain restrictions on changing things easily.
I got you.
And so, of course, some families, they were going to pass on their property to their children, or their property had some other value that just wouldn't allow them to agree to that. But we were successful in getting some properties.
Okay.
So it was a wonderful experience.
Did you have a role model that kind of pushed you into or led you to do these community activities at all?
I don't know about, yes, I mean, the community activities. One of my big role models was people like Jerry Payne. I met Jerry playing tennis. Tennis is my aerobics.
Okay.
And I was a member at the tennis club on 83, and she was a member there. And just her love of life, her love of the community, I mean, there wasn't anything Jerry wasn't involved in.
I got you.
So she was certainly a role model. And then through my life, because I had a pretty extensive working career, my husband's been a great role model.
Okay.
My husband, Ron, he has great people skills, and he has marvelous patience. He also has a fantastic sense of humor. And, you know, I want to tell you, Rudy, it's very difficult to stay mad and argue with somebody when you're laughing at them. So humor can really,
brighten things up.
It does. It really removes a tense situation. There were also women that I worked with that had great skill sets, managerial skill sets. I was in middle management at the time I retired in purchasing, so I was dealing with the public and managers and different plants, different countries. And I'm not the type of person who learns from reading a book. I like reading, but I have some little learning disabilities, and I learn by watching people and doing things and adapting what they do to what I can do.
Okay.
I have two good friends, Pat Chiazza and Sharon Givler, who have inspired me in my spiritual life and growth. So yeah, I have lots of role models.
Okay. How does it feel now to being recognized and honored by your peers in Avon Lake and named Citizen of the Year?
Oh, my goodness. Rudy, I was so overwhelmed. It was so humbling. The people, Anita nominated me, and the fact that other people had to vote and agree, and to be included with prior citizens who've done so much more than me, it's really overwhelming. Quite an honor.
Okay. What were the activities that were the basis for the Citizen of the Year? I know there might be many of them, the primary activities. Can you break it down that way?
Yes, I would say it was the work I did as part of the Peter Miller House Museum. I was on the board, and I started as a board member, and then eventually became secretary. And as Jerry Payne's health began to decline, I eventually became president.
Of that effort.
Yes, yes.
Tell us about Peter Miller and why was he important to Avon Lake?
Well, actually, it was his father, Adam. Adam and his wife and the 10 children came from New York.
Okay.
And they probably got a homesteading kind of grant. And they came into the territory. It was a wilderness then. It wasn't developed. I mean, there weren't towns or people here. And he built a log cabin. And at the time he arrived, it was known as Troy County.
Okay.
And it was Avon Township. And so then eventually Troy County became Lorain County, and then Avon Township split from Avon and Avon Lake, and they became independent towns.
Okay.
So he came in 1828, and he was the Avon Lake's first permanent settler. There were pioneers, Native American, the Native Indians, but they weren't building homes and staying here. And he was the first permanent settler.
Okay.
And, I'm
Well,
sorry.
how big was his house?
Well, he was in the log cabin, and then he eventually transferred some of his property to his youngest son, Peter.
Okay.
And it was Peter who built the little white house,
Okay, I
the
got
Peter
you.
Miller
Okay,
house.
all right.
And it is a little white house. It's got the fence in front of it, and it's located east of a Miller Avon Lake boat ramp.
Okay.
And it is on Lake Road. And that little house became, I have to look at the date so I don't forget here. It became Avon Lake's first landmark, historical landmark. And it received that marker in 2010. It's a wooden structure home. It's early Greek revival architecture.
Okay.
It is furnished with Victorian, early American furniture, and it even has a display of primitive clothing. It's, let me see, there's 4 major rooms. You come into a formal parlor. There's a small room off of that, which was considered the birthing room, where
Okay.
Peter's wife would have her children.
Wow.
They had 5 children that they raised in that little
Okay.
house. And then in the formal parlor, the house has 2 entrance doors. The wood, the floors, the hardwood, and the doors are all original wood. And the next room, beside the formal parlor, was the gathering room. That would have been our kitchen. They called it gathering room. And off of that was a small room with a cot-sized bed, which the adults slept in. That was the adults' master bedroom.
I see.
No closets. The house had no running water, no electricity, no heat other than the big walk-in fireplace. And the children slept upstairs in like a dormer.
Okay.
And the interesting room off the house, at the back of the house, is what they called the root cellar. And originally, that would not have been attached to the house. It would have been separate. The walls are handmade 2-inch bricks. And it would have had a dirt floor. Right now, we have a normal floor in there. And that root cellar, that was the refrigerator. They would have put the fruit, garden produce in there. In the extreme winter cold, they would have brought their cow and their horse in there for protection.
I see.
So it's an amazing little gem. In fact, it's a perfect little display
Okay.
for the community of what it was like, because that house was built in the late 1830s
Okay.
by Peter.
All right.
And it really displays how a person lived back in that time frame.
Okay.
And it's a time capsule for Avon Lake.
Okay. Now, I'm sure people would like to see that. How would they find out when it was open? I know that it's not a routine schedule. It's a little bit.
Well, we have a date on Sunday in the summer months when it's open. The next Sunday that it's going to be open to the public is July 9th. It's open from 1 to 4, 1 to 3. There's no charge. Public can come in. We do private tours. If a citizen wants to contact us, they can go on to our website, Avon Lake Historical Society.
Okay.
And I think there's a number. I know there's a number, and they can leave a message, and we try to work with the people. We keep the house open for these open house events through August, sometimes September, and we might even do a few private tours in October. It gets difficult after that because the house doesn't have a lot of electricity. It was lit by oil lamps, candles. We do have some lights in there. So it gets rather dark. And of course, in the winter with the snow and there's not a driveway, and it's not easily accessible, so it does get shut down for the winter.
Understand. What's the difference between that house and the Peter Miller Museum? Is the house and the museum one and the same?
Yes, they are. They
Okay.
definitely are. They just attached the museum to the end of the name because for the historical landmark identification, it's known as a museum.
Okay, all right. And what's your relationship to the museum now?
Well, as part of the Avon Lake Historical Society, I'm responsible. I'm a docent, so I will do
Okay.
house tours.
Okay.
And my other responsibilities are acquiring and scheduling speakers for our winter programs, which we put on here at the Avon Lake Library. And we do those Monday through April, and it's the second or third Mondays of each month from 1 to 2, and they're free to the public. And that's my major responsibility.
Have you always had an interest in local history,
Judy?
Judy?
I think maybe it came from my aunt. My mother and my aunt were always interested in antiques.
Okay.
And they would drag us around collecting old
I
things and
see.
restoring them and looking at the different historical places that we have here in Ohio. At the time when I was younger, I don't think I appreciated it as much as I do now.
Okay.
But my aunt was also involved in the Amherst Historical Society, so I know she would be quite proud
Okay.
of me.
Were there other activities, projects that you were involved with in the Avon Lake Historical Society?
Well, I'm not directly involved in them, but I think I need to brag about them because we have an educational activity. All of Avon Lake's grade schools and also St. Joseph Parish grade schools, they bring their third graders to the little
Wonderful.
to the little Peter Miller House Museum as part of their third grade history field trip.
Okay.
And it meets the school, the education system's requirement for their Ohio history.
Okay.
So it serves that purpose for those kids, and it's outstanding. And Sherry Spencer, Carol
Okay.
Miners, conducts those tours and schedules them. And a lady, the president of the Avon on the Lake Garden Club, Elaine, I'm sorry, I pronounced her name wrong. She talks about the herb garden because, in those days, people used herbs not only for cooking, but there was no drugstores, no doctors, so
Right.
medicinal purposes. And they also used them for body odor. It was their deodorant. Because they didn't take monthly, maybe, or definitely not daily baths.
I'm sure the kids really remember that, too.
Well, oh yeah, they love hearing those things. In fact, we had one child ask, were these people poor? Because, the children are amazed. There was no cell phones.
Yeah, how did they live?
No stores, no McDonald's, and I said, what do they do for food? Well, you got up with your dad, you got your rifle, your fishing
Right.
rod, you went out, you caught your food, you brought it home, your mother had to clean it, prepare it. It took 2, 3, 4 hours to cook. They didn't have a microwave to pop it in. I said,
I
oh my
see.
gosh. And I said, no, the people weren't poor. Everybody lived like this.
Yeah.
It was
It
like,
was
oh my
the
gosh. They couldn't
Sign of the
believe it.
time.
And I think one of the things that I find the most interesting when I do house tours for the public, I like to watch the expression on the adults, their faces, and even in the children, even more so, as they go through and start to look, their look of, as they begin to contemplate, oh my gosh, what it might
What it
have been
was
like to
like,
live
yeah.
there. And, it's like, oh. And, what was just the other thing I enjoy is we have had students that have come through the museum on field trips come back as an adults and bring their children. So
Wonderful.
it
That's
is
just
wonderful.
wonderful.
And you know, I think that speaks for a city and a town to retain and maintain some of the older things. Adds character. It helps us understand our history. We learn from our history. You know, I think it's phenomenal when you're driving into downtown Cleveland from Akron or from here, the other side of Cleveland, you know, to look at the skylight and to look, you know, come into town and see the old buildings along with the new. It just gives so much character and interest.
Right, right. I know you were also active in the pro-life ministry. Tell us about those activities.
Yeah. Well, that was a slow process. I think I became aware and a little bit more interested. I met two young people who I found out later had had abortions.
I see.
And one had an abortion when she was a minor. Her parent took her. And I know, you know, I'm sure the parent thought it was for the best interest of the young person. And the other was a young single mom raising a child.
Okay.
And she got pregnant again unexpectedly.
Okay.
The man wasn't going to be in her life.
Understand.
You know, she felt alone and kind of desperate, and made the decision herself that, you know, maybe she should have an abortion. What I saw was the pain that they went through, and I did not see where that improved their life. I didn't see where that answer gave them joy in their life.
Okay.
They went through depression. They went through sadness, regret, guilt, and even anger. And, you know, they were angry, and they had to deal with that. And I saw that fallout firsthand. So I think that kind of started me getting interested. First thing I did is I joined the St. Joseph Parish, which I'm a member, their pro-life ministry. And our ministry does fundraisers for some of the pro-life organizations here in Lorraine. Birthright is a wonderful pro-life nonprofit little organization.
Okay.
They give free clothing, and a lot of times it's new clothing, and formula to new moms, expecting moms, and moms that have children, maybe low income, or just need it. It's their daily. They can go in and the moms pick out what they need themselves.
Where is that located?
That is located on, I want to say 254, but it's in Lorraine, Elyria, as you're going to Elyria. And they don't have professional counselors, and they don't provide medical care. But they will give referrals, you know.
I gotcha.
If a mother needs something, they can help her out. We also do fundraisers for Blessing House, which is and they're located in Elyria. In fact, they are actually located very close to Birthright. And they actually will take in a child from an infant, right out of the hospital. And I forget what their max age is, and they will take over raising that child, get it to school, doctors, anything it needs, and give it a home, a safe place, while a parent is recovering from something or is unable to take care of their child. They don't raise it forever. They don't adopt it totally. And they'll work with the parent until they can take the child back.
Okay. They do wonderful work. I'm familiar with the group.
They do. And, you know, there's other wonderful organizations. Cornerstone, which is in Elyria, right by Midway Mall. They actually have medical professionals, medical counselors. They will give ultrasounds. They give other parenting counseling and other support needs for a woman in a crisis pregnancy or in a woman after an abortion. And, I then also started, as it progressed along, started volunteering for Cleveland Right to Life, Lorraine Right to Life. And I got involved supporting, an organization that's called LifeWorks. And LifeWorks is a nonprofit, they're nonpartisan,
Okay.
organization. And their goal, and they're devoted to presenting educational programs, and they start at 6th grade. They go into schools and present these programs, and it's teaching, having kids learn that that on the sanctity of life, starting with conception to natural end of life.
Okay.
And their program has reached over 72,000 students
Wow.
throughout Cuyahoga County and Lorraine County. So, again, it's teaching a positive message. I've also volunteered for a program called Bringing America Back to Life.
Okay.
It's one of the largest pro-life, pro-family, conservative, nonpartisan conventions in the United States, and it's held annually here in Cleveland. And they have some outstanding speakers, expert in their field, that talk about they talk about and give presentations and information on all the major issues that we're dealing with within our society today.
Understand.
Yep.
Maybe I should have started with this question. What is an abortion?
Oh, well, an abortion. An abortion is a process,
Okay.
and there are two types. There's the surgical abortion, and the doctor has different ways he can do that. And then there's the chemical abortion, which is 2 pills. The first pill is a chemical, and the woman takes it, and it has chemicals in it that kills the baby. It starves the baby to death. And then she takes the second pill at a later time. It may be I can't remember the exact time frame, maybe the day after or hours later. And that second pill causes the contractions, and then she expels the infant.
I see.
So basic, that's what an abortion is.
Okay. Who is getting abortions?
Oh, okay. 83, the numbers that we've been given, or I've read. Women getting abortions, they identify as single, divorced, or even widowed.
Okay.
And at times, often they don't have a husband or a boyfriend or family to help them support.
So they feel
and raising.
isolated.
They do. They feel isolated. They feel panic. And they don't know what to do. So it is a crisis for them. They're in a dilemma.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are people getting abortions primarily for efficiency and economy? Is that kind of the driving forces? I think we kind of inferred that.
Yeah. It's interesting, again, the numbers out there are 64% of women, American women, who are saying they're pressured into having an abortion, which tells me that they really weren't sure or didn't want an abortion. So some of the reasons we're finding that women, end up having this abortion is often their boyfriend either forces them or insists they have an abortion. They don't, the man doesn't want, the guy doesn't want the child. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's even their husband, he doesn't want the child.
I see.
And so she feels compelled to go along with them. Other times it's things like the woman is a drug user. are she's a victim of sex trafficking.
Okay.
And often, the abortion clinics don't report that. So if a woman's brought in that situation, they don't report that situation. And then there's cases where, it could be a college student, she wasn't prepared, she wasn't ready. And, her friend, maybe it's even a parent, persuades her that, this is her best and only option.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, when a woman in a crisis pregnancy goes into an abortion clinic, they don't sit down and talk to her about options. They're selling her on this product. Have an abortion, your life's going to be better. You can go home.
Understand.
Quick, easy, and you won't have any problems.
It's efficient.
So, it tends to be thought of as the most efficient thing to do.
Okay. When does the pro-life movement believe developing babies become persons?
Oh, that's a big one. They do believe, and there's medical science that support it, that life begins at conception and that the little preborn baby is a person from fertilization.
Okay.
And it's kind of interesting because, you can read, and again, there's medical support to this, that once the sperm is fertilized, and it fertilizes the egg, and I'm not a doctor, so I have to look at a few notes. It becomes a brand new, unique, whole organism.
I see.
And the key is with its own DNA.
Right.
So that supports the fact medically that it's life.
Are developing babies and some seriously ill adults similar? In that they are both kind of dependent?
Well, I like pro-choice women like to make the claim, it's my body. You hear that a lot, and that's their favorite thing to express and they're concerned with. But that really isn't true. And the reason I say that, and again, the medical science doctors will say the same thing, the infant's body is not her body. It's only supported by her body. So the mother-to-be's organs, liver, kidney, that's part of her body.
Yeah.
It has the mother's DNA.
Right.
And
I think we have a slide about that the audience is going to see.
And that organ is used by her body to support other bodily functions that the mother needs. The mother's body doesn't use the baby's body for any functions.
Okay.
It's her body that supports the newly created life. And if allowed to be born, that new life will become a new individual with its own personality and its own spirit and soul. The kidney and organ won't do that.
Right.
And, the abortion industry and the abortion clinics, Planned Parenthood, they know this. And they do their best and make effort not to let the mother know this. They don't want the mother to think of the preborn baby as a live being and that she is allowing it to be destroyed. Because otherwise she'd change her mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now you talked a little bit about different types of abortions. Do you want to talk about the pros and cons?
Yeah, I can definitely do that because there are some. There are definitely some. The surgical abortion, again, the abortion clinic doesn't set when the woman comes in to have an abortion,
right.
They take her money, they sit her in a chair, and then they take her to the back room and they do the procedure.
Mm-hmm.
She isn't talked about on whatever risk there might be. And there are risks. They can have perforated uteruses. You know, I have a whole list of stuff. You know, it's not health care. They remains of the baby can actually be left in the woman by accident.
Okay.
She can have hemorrhaging, and these abortion clinics are they're not hospitals. They're not health centers, and they're often not equipped to provide emergency care
Right.
for the woman if there is a problem. Now, on the chemical abortion, again, that's the pill, and the industry is now promoting that as the easiest and comfortable, newest, easiest, and comfortable method to use. And
At home.
well, it's considered the do-it-yourself method. So, and that's the downside. Women are telling us that have had this do-it-yourself method abortion at home, that it's worse than a surgical abortion. And the reason is they take this pill, they're home alone with no medical backup or support if they run into an emergency crisis or problem.
Right.
And the other terrible thing about it is they are left then having to clean up and dispose of the baby's body
Yeah.
and remains. And they're told there's just going to be some slight hemorrhaging, not hemorrhaging, a little bit of bleeding. You'll be able to go to work the next day. Women are telling us that they have actually had the formed baby, and the abortion clinic is telling these women to dispose of that baby or their remains just to flush it down their toilet.
Understand.
You know, a person wouldn't do that to their pet dog or cat.
Right.
If it died, they would not flush it down their toilet.
No.
And this is a real little human being, or was. So women don't know. I don't fault the women. They don't know. And then they go through this and think of the trauma they're experiencing and have to recover from. Now, the industry is actually wanting these women, they're promoting that it should be an over-the-counter and that no prescription by a doctor needs to be given. The other negative part about this, if a woman were to have a miscarriage, her doctor would prescribe a D&C because he'd want to make sure no baby's remains were left in her to cause infection, even death. A woman who does this at home, do-it-yourself at home abortion, chemical abortion, she's not instructed to have a D&C. She doesn't need, you know, so she goes on. So there's been a real spike in infections, women having to go to emergency and doctors afterwards, and actually even a big increase in suicide from sense of guilt and trauma.
Understand. A D&C would be another name for a surgical abortion.
It's no.
Or a surgical procedure.
It is a surgical procedure done by the medical profession for healing after a cleansing.
Right. Dilation and curettage.
Yeah. So you're a better doctor. Yeah, that's a PhD behind your name.
Tell us about the August 8th special election ballot that's coming up. Could you I know that involves an amendment to the Ohio Constitution.
Yes, it does. Ohio's one of 9 states that has the weakest standard for passing constitutional amendments. The other states have higher standards and a higher standard, and they require more than the 50% plus one majority.
Okay.
You know, our constitutional law is considered a fundamental law, and it should be. I think it should be stable, enduring, and strong.
Okay.
You know, I compare it to a house. You wouldn't build a house or a building and not put a strong foundation under it. You wouldn't leave a weak foundation that could wobble around.
Right, right.
I think you need a strong support for it. And so we do have an election, August 8th, for voters to come in and vote yes or no.
Okay.
Do you want a strong foundation or do you want a weak one?
Right. So people believe that if we raise the approval number to 60% of the voters rather than 50% plus one, which is a simple majority. And I agree with you, you know, to have a stable foundation, you don't want to change your basic laws frivolously.
Right.
They need to have widespread support, and so is the proponents for this August 8th agenda would, you know, want to have a higher standard for this change in the Constitution rather than just a simple majority. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. If the November reproduction amendment passes, can abortions take place right up to the time of birth?
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, yes, because it would remove any limitations on abortion.
Okay.
And, you know, the sad part also is it would remove the many, I shouldn't say many, but the several good pro-life bills that have been passed that we have now that offer safety.
Okay.
Real safety for the women. They're asking for things for the abortion clinic to be equipped and be able to accommodate women in a safer way. And that would be removed.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I know that many voters don't understand and don't know is that their amendment, their dangerous amendment, would remove the basic rights of parents because it would allow, you know, if a minor child was taken by somebody other than a family member, somebody that nobody knew, and taken to have an abortion, or transgender treatment or surgery, the parent would no longer have to be informed or get their consent.
Okay.
So I don't know what parent would want to approve that.
Like the Wild West, no restrictions,
you know,
license.
Of course, we'd have to pay for it,
Yeah.
but we wouldn't have any say for it.
Understand. What are the effects of abortion on the mom? You talked about it a little bit.
Yeah. Tremendous effects. You know, they have the psychological effects, and there are physical effects. And you know, their body was gearing up for life, and then it was ripped out of them. And so they suffer depression, they suffer guilt, they suffer regret, and there's anger, you know, and
very sad.
Oh, a great sense of loss, and so many of these women, and they'll tell you, they'll often turn to drugs, alcohol, other destructive behaviors to run from their pain because they're in pain.
Mm-hmm. What about the effect on the dad?
You know, that's interesting. We have had some testimony from men that have actually said that, you know, they talked their girlfriend into having the abortion, and they got married and had children, and they've had a deep regret because they'll look at children they have and know that there was another older sibling, and they think about that. And there was one dad that said he had to actually go for counseling. And his wife is still struggling, and she hasn't been to counseling and help. And then there are those men that don't care because they don't plan on marrying the woman. They don't want to help her. They just want benefits from her.
Yeah.
And they don't care about a child, and they don't want to have to pay child support. And, and then there are even husbands that don't care because they don't want more children, or don't want any children. There are women, that are drug users, so they're not even
Focused
aware,
in on it. Yeah.
capable. And unfortunately, probably in that same situation, there are women that have so many different partners, they don't even know who the father of their child is. And there are men that are never told. They don't know.
Yeah.
All kinds of situations.
Understand. What effect does seeing the ultrasound of a developing baby have on the mom?
Oh, it's been a huge change. Women will tell us, and pro-life agencies have told us, when a woman sees the ultrasound, she's able to see the little infant moving. She sees its heartbeat, and she can tell it's a live being, and that it can feel pain. And many of them change their mind. So for that reason, abortion clinics and Planned Parenthood, they do not want to offer ultrasounds, and they'll do their utmost to avoid and get out from having to do that. Because they know quite often the mother will change her mind.
What happens if all limits on abortion are removed? Will infanticide become routine?
I'm afraid it would be, because our society today has become so desensitized, and they don't seem to have, they're actually rather callous in their thoughts about the preborn infant. It's kind of, well, it's not my problem, or it's
abstract,
it's abstract, or it's like having a bad tooth or a wart. You just remove it and it'll go away. And I really am concerned that they'll work, that it'll be easier for them to think of it even as being more routine.
Can hope and healing occur after an abortion?
Yes, and it does. There is hope, and there's some wonderful organizations, programs that can reach out, that are there. And I don't think that women know that enough. I've got to give you names of some of them, because there's Rachel Project. There is Bethesda House of Mercy, Cornerstone. There's retreats. There's churches that have special programs that will assign parishioners, angels, with a mother in a crisis pregnancy, and walk with her through that pregnancy, help her to her doctors, help find everything she needs, and give her the support she needs for making a better choice than an abortion. And there's professional counseling for women for after the abortion to deal with that hurt. And it's critical that they get that help.
Yeah,
it's
take
definitely
advantage
critical,
of that.
definitely. Yeah. And that's why I think why another reason I was driven to these pro-life groups and becoming a little more involved. I want women to know that. We need to get that message out more, and we're trying. We are trying.
All right. Well, thank you very much for appearing, Judy. Please And thank you for watching. Please give us feedback on this show. You can ask questions of us. You'll see on the bottom of the screen our email addresses. And we're happy to answer any questions that you have, any comments that you have. If you would like to appear on the show, or you know an interesting person who would like to appear, please contact us. Give us their contact information, and we'll work from there. And remember, seatbelts save lives.
The preceding program was presented to you by a community producer. The statements, views, and opinions expressed were not necessarily those of ALC TV or the City of Avon Lake.